Yes, hello again, and a very good morning from all of us here at the 2024 Helsington Classic Scramble. Now, I do hope you enjoyed having a look at some of those nice bikes that we showed you from around the paddock. And as I said, I did celebrate with a beer or two last night after we finished filming. But to be truthful, I do feel a little bit limp like this guy here beside me, but nevertheless we'll certainly get through the day. So without any further delay, it's time to go racing, so let's head down to the start line for race one. Okay, so welcome back to the 2024 Wulfsport Taylor Trophy Scramble, hosted of course by the Westmoreland Motor Club and held here at this historic Helsington Classic racetrack. So this is episode one of 3 episodes featuring some of the racing highlights from this 2024 event. Now, weather-wise, the forecast was originally to be quite good, although as weather forecasts go, they sometimes don't get it spot on, and in our case here, the Sunday morning, it was pretty wet and miserable, and it looked like it was going to be a very difficult day for everybody concerned. So let's head down to the start line for race 1, which is the combined pre-60s, pre-65s, pre-68s and 74s up to and over 250cc. So quite a decent lineup of bikes for this race 1. And as I said, these are basically all of the classic and vintage bikes rolled into one particular race, which of course will all be scored separately as they cross the finish line due to the electronic transponders that are fitted to each and every bike. But we've almost a full gate lineup of classic bikes. I think we had almost 200 entries for this Helsington event for 2024, so a very healthy entry of vintage bikes. So we have the 15-second board now being raised, shortly to change to 5 seconds. So as the bikes leave the line, it looks like a good start there by, I think that's Chris Chell on that lovely Shenny BSA, who's got the whole shot. And it is indeed number 264, Chris Chell, your race leader. Second is Liston Bell, as these riders make their way round to begin lap 1. But whoops, looks like we've got a faller there in yellow. I think that could have been, I think that was number 23. I think that could have been Sam Tatum, who dropped his CZ there as they went into the turn, but no such problems for our whole shot man, number 264, Chris Chell on the Shaney BSA, being followed by number 98, Liston Bell. Third place, it looks like it's Andy Hinchcliffe, number 244. Just going past there in 5th position was number 235, I think that's Sam Alderman on that Japsa machine, which is the BSA frame with the Jap engine inside. He just goes past there, Sam Alderman. Ian Stainton just making his way through there on the Clues stroker, but he's the battle at the front between number 98 Liston Bell and Chris Chell. Looks like we've got a couple of fallers there in the wooded section of the track. One of those riders in the woods there was number 68, Gary Gowan, on his tackle 250. So it looks like those two riders have had a little bit of a coming together, but it's still number 264, Chris Chell on the Shenny BSA 500, who's your race leader. There's your second place man, number 98, Liston Bell on the big 500 4-stroke Jawa machine. And actually I think that's a Matisse Jawa 540 from about 1964 that Liston Bell's riding. There's your third placed rider, number 224. That's Andy Hinchcliffe on the CZ. Actually, in third place there, that looked like it was number 873. That was Nathan Jones on his 400 Husqvarna from 1969. So Nathan Jones has made a very good start here in his first race of the day. But you can see even early on here on race 1, the track is still very slippy even after just the practice, but it's quite hard to read some of these riders' numbers on their bikes due to the very muddy conditions. But it's quite easy to make this young man out here, number 264, Chris Chell, who's basically led this race from the start gate, but Liston Bell appears to be closing in on Chris's pole position, so we could have a change of leadership here at the front, but it's still currently number 264 Chris Chell on that very quick Shenny BSA. But Chris Chell coming up the hill to begin another racing lap, looking very good at this point in the race as we take a look at number 235. That's Sam Alderman again on his Japsa. That's the BSA frame with the John Alfred Prestwich 4-stroke motor in the chassis. So we're currently taking a look at the second placed man, number 98, Liston Bell, on that rapid Matisse 540 Jawa. I think that bike's from about 1964 if my memory serves me correctly, but Liston going very well there on that 4-stroke machine. So there's your race leader, number 264. It's still Chris Chell, your current race leader. And as I said before, we do have 4 different classes of rider in this one race, but of course they will all be scored in their individual classes as they cross the finish line, courtesy of the fact of these high-tech transponders that are fitted to each and every machine. So there's your third placed rider, number 873. That's Nathan Jones on the 400 Cross Husqvarna. We'll take a look at number 514. That's Graham Watson on that beautiful Triumph Shenny Tiger Cub from 1973. So we're looking at the battle for first place between Chris Chell there, number 264, and number 98, Liston Bell. But it looks like Liston has got the speed going across that far straightaway. So Liston is now your new race leader, and it looks like he's already beginning to open up a very slight gap to number 264, Chris Chell. So this has been a good ride here by the man from Scotland, number 98, Liston Bell. And he looks like he's heading towards his first win of the day, and it's going to be a second place finish for Chris Chell, number 264. Looks like Philip Witham there with his 250 Honda Elsinore got some kind of mechanical issues, and it looks like we've got a rider down at the top of the hill as this race comes to a close. I'm not exactly sure as to who that rider is, but he appears to be in a bit of pain there with one of his legs. As we take a look at number 152, that's Alan Reid riding his quite nice BSA Victor. And we're taking a look at number 43, that's Andy Mallock on his CZ. And I think Andy's already finished for the day because he's just given himself a back injury, so he's heading back to the paddock. So that'll bring us on to the second race of the day, and this of course is the Twin Shock 125s, and this is the combined A and B classes together, and as you can see, an almost full gate of 125s here at Helsington. So these little 125s are certainly popular at these kind of classic events, and there's some very talented riders riding these 125s, as you're just about to see. So the 15-second board is raised. We're just about to get underway as the 5-second board goes up, and as the riders leave the line, it's a big screaming gaggle of 125s as they leave the line, and it looks like our early race leader is that man again. It looks like number 224, that's Andy Hinchcliffe, I think, on the CR 125 Honda. So it is indeed number 224. You can see him just at the top of the hill there. Andy Hinchcliffe in first position on the CR 125 Honda. Second place, it looks like it's number 13. I think that's Chris Winder there, as these two absolutely flying around this Helsington racetrack. So these two have already opened up a decent gap to the chasing pack before we've even finished at lap 1. So as we continue with lap 1, it's still number 224, Andy Hinchcliffe, who leads number 13, Chris Winder. And there's your third placed rider, number 51, that's Martin Stokes, who's currently in third position. And of course, both these riders, Andy Hinchcliffe and Chris Winder, riding those little CR 125 Hondas. Looks like we've got a faller going into the turn there. So it looks like they've dropped their little YZ Yamaha. But it looks like Andy Hinchcliffe's got some kind of problem there. I think he temporarily dropped his bike there. So there's your new race leader. It's Chris Winder, and he's got quite a good gap now between himself and this man coming down the hill, Andy Hinchcliffe. Now, I'm not exactly sure what happened there, but it looks like Andy may have dropped his bike going into that turn. It's still Martin Stokes there, number 51, in third position. But we'll certainly keep an eye on Andy Hinchcliffe to see if he can close that gap back down to Chris Winder, but he's got quite a bit of work to do to achieve that. So there's your current race leader, number 13, Chris Winder, on the 1980 CR 125 Honda. A very quick machine, as you can see, and perfectly suited for this tight and twisty Helsington racetrack. Second place at this point is still Andy Hinchcliffe, and he's already made up a bit of ground on Chris Winder. So Andy Hinchcliffe is definitely on his way. And you can see that the track is especially slippy at this bottom part of the course. So we're looking at our race leader again, number 13, Chris Winder, and you can just see Andy Hinchcliffe coming into view at the top of the hill. So Andy is certainly on the move on that little 125 Honda, but there's still plenty of time for Andy to catch up to Chris Winder, because we do have a few laps still remaining. But even although these are just smaller 125 two-stroke machines, are certainly circulating this Helsington racetrack at almost comparable speeds with the much bigger bikes. But we're back with our race leader here again, number 13, Chris Winder, in first position. We'll just see if Andy Hinchcliffe is. He's certainly made up a lot of ground in that last lap, so I think we're going to see a challenge here before the end of this 125 race. It's still Martin Stokes there in third position, as we take a look at number 94. That's Charlie Johnson on his 1980 CR 125 Honda. So we're back with our race leader, but Chris Winder looks like he's going to be passed by Andy Hinchcliffe. So Andy Hinchcliffe's made a fantastic recovery in this race as he... Oh, Jesus, God. Goodness me, it looks like Chris Winder and Andy Hinchcliffe both went for the exact space on the track there as they try to pass each other. But let's just take a quick look at that again. But it looked to me like when both of the riders came into this particular part of the track, they came across a back marker, and it looks like Andy Hinchcliffe had to change his line, which then, of course, led to the collision with Chris Winder. And I think I later learned that Chris had some kind of shoulder injury, so we wish him well in his recovery. And as to Andy Hinchcliffe, I think Andy still continued to race at this Helsington event. But as I said, that was all second-hand information, so I do hope both the riders certainly didn't suffer too serious injuries in that little coming together. So with the loss of Chris Winder and Andy Hinchcliffe in this race, I think that now elevated number 51 Martin Stokes to our current race leader. But to tell you the truth, I did kind of lose my bearings with the race leaders in this race after that incident, but we will continue to pick up a few of the riders in the remaining laps of this 125 race. So we're currently looking at number 42 there. That's Alan Thomas on his RM 125 Suzuki, another one of those little Suzuki machines that you don't see very often on classic racetracks these days. Number 94 just making his way through again is of course Charlie Johnson on his 1980 125 Honda. And I actually seen a social media post about Charlie Johnson just the other day, saying that he does have the stature and riding style of the once great Graham Noyce, but Charlie certainly doing very well there on that RM125 Honda. Just making his way up the hill there is number 161, that's Joseph Dent. And there's a very rare bike, number 106 is Marcus Kiers on that lovely Italian Moto Villa machine from, I think it's 1979. And there's your guest of honour for this year's 2024 Helsington Taylor Trophy Scramble, the fantastic and legendary Eric Kitchen. So that was the first of the 125A and B class races. So that brings us up to race 3, and this is the first race of the day for the Twin Shock 250 class. Another decent lineup of riders in this class, some quite quick riders in this category. Look out for number 41, that's Lee Payne. Look out also for number 43, Ryan Ireland. Two very quick riders in this class. Now it just looks like we're about good to go. We're waiting on the starter getting into position. The 15-second board will be raised just shortly, and we'll be good to go. So it's 15 seconds for the 250s, shortly to be 5, and as they leave the line, quite a good start there by Ryan Ireland, number 43 in second place, but it looks like it's Lee Payne, number 41, who has the early advantage on that 250 Honda Red Rocket. So as the riders make their way down from the top of the hill for the very first time, it is still Lee Payne, your race leader, from Ryan Ireland, number 43, number 21 just going through there. It was Neil Jones, quite a lot of 250 Honda Red Rockets in this particular class, but it's Lee Payne who's already stretching out a decent lead on number 43, Ryan Ireland. So Lee Payne's made a fantastic start here as they begin lap 1. There's your second place man, number 43, that's Ryan Ireland. Third position there, I think could be at number 79. I think that could be Storm Stacey in third position, but quite hard to read some of these bikes' numbers with the muddy track conditions. But there's your race leader, number 41, Lee Payne. It looks like Ryan Ireland has dropped his bike into that corner, so Ryan's lost at least one track position. Now in this footage here you can see that it's not raining too heavily, but the rain that we did have on the day was still making this track extremely slippy and very difficult for most of the riders. So we're catching up once again with our race leader. It's still number 41, Lee Payne, on the 1980 CR250 Honda Red Rocket. And Lee has quite a decent gap from second place man, which I think is now number 79. That's Storm Stacey on the 250 German Michael. So we're just looking for our second placed rider coming through, which should be number 79, Storm Stacey. So you can see just how much of a gap number 41 Lee Payne has over second place man here, Storm Stacey, and it looks like Ryan Ireland is back up and running again in third position. So Ryan's made quite a good recovery after that small incident. But this is certainly the man on a mission in the 250 class. This is Lee Payne, number 41, your race leader. It looks like the slippy conditions have no effect at all on Lee's speed around this Helsington racetrack. He's going super quick on that Honda Red Rocket, but the track conditions did gradually deteriorate during the morning when we had some light showers of rain, but thus far it's looking good for number 41 Lee Payne. There's your second and third placed battle between number 79, that's Storm Stacey, on that 1981 250 German Michael, and he's been chased by number 43 Ryan Ireland. But again, this is another good ride here by Storm Stacey on the 250 Michael, doing very well there in second position. Ryan Ireland trying to get back on terms with Storm Stacey for that second place position as both riders cross the line to start another racing lap. But here's your man of the moment at the front. It's still number 41 Lee Payne. So we're back with that battle again for the second and third placed positions. It's still that man there, number 79 Storm Stacey, leading at number 43 Ryan Ireland. But I must say Ryan's made quite a good recovery, because he's certainly making up ground on Storm Stacey's second place position. So this has still been a good ride by Ryan thus far, who, as far as I know, is carrying a slight hand injury from a previous event. But there's your race leader crossing the finish line. We're waiting on our second place man, which is still this man here, number 79 Storm Stacey, and Ryan Ireland is currently still in third position. It looks like Ryan maybe have just given up that place to Storm Stacey. Looks like Ryan's cruising for the remaining race in this 250 class. Number 72 just going through there. I think that was George Dodgson, who's currently, I think, in fourth position. So we're back with our race leader as he comes round the track to complete his last and final lap and head towards the checkered flag for his first win of the day. But this has been a good performance here by number 41 Lee Payne, who's basically led this race from the first drop of the start gate. So it's a win for Lee Payne, and it looks like it's going to be quite a comfortable second place for this young man here as well, number 79 Storm Stacey on that very quick 250 Michael. Ryan Ireland appears to be cruising to the checkered flag. As I said, Ryan was carrying a slight hand injury, so I don't know if that's been troubling him in this race. As we take a look at some of the other 250 riders as they come round to finish their first 250 race of the day. Number 14 just going through there. I think that was Tony Pye on his 250 Honda Red Rocket. Right, so that brings us naturally on to race 4, and this is the first race for the Twin Shock Open aged 60 and over. Another very good lineup of veteran Twin Shock riders for this race. So as they leave the line, it looks like a good start there by number 2. I think that's Dave Salkeld at the front, but it looks like Dave's just been passed by number 33. I think that could be Neil Eastwood on the 81 490 Michael. I'm not sure if Neil is part of the famous Eastwood racing family, but I'm sure some of my YouTubers will correct me on that particular statement. But some very quick riders in this veterans Twin Shock racing class. So as the riders make their way down from the hill for the very first time, it is indeed number 2, Dave Salkeld, who leads number 33, Neil Eastwood. Alan Bott is currently in third position, and all three of those riders riding those 81 490 Michaels. But here's your race leader, number 2, Dave Salkeld, absolutely flying on that 490 Michael. I must admit that when I used to race in these kind of conditions, I absolutely hated it because I just wasn't good enough to race in muddy conditions. But these guys are making it look very easy in this very slippy race conditions. Number 2, Dave Salkeld, your race leader. Second now, looks like it's Alan Bott at number 74, the man from Wigan. And you can see just how quickly these big 490s are lapping this Helsington track, because these guys are already on their second lap. As we take a look at third place man there, number 33, Neil Eastwood. So currently it's still number 2, Dave Salkeld, who leads number 74, Alan Bott, in second position. But Dave Salkeld looks like he's on a mission with this big two-stroke German Michael. Is absolutely flying around this slippy Helsington racetrack. But as I've mentioned before, this track does have a bit of history for this area, because I think this track was in regular use way back in the 1960s when some of the biggest names in scrambling, as it was called then, took to this historic racetrack. And it's only in the last few years that the Westmoreland Motor Club have brought the track back to life to host this new style Helsington classic event. So we're looking for a race leader, and you can see visually how much of a lead number 2, Dave Salkeld, has over second place man Alan Bott, and it'll give you an indication of just how quick these 81 490 Michaels were a way back in their day, because these are still even highly competitive bikes even here in 2024. But this man is certainly riding superbly on the big two-stroke Michael, number 2, Dave Salkeld, who's your current race leader. So Dave Salkeld looking very comfortable just ahead of this man here, number 74, Alan Bott, the owner of Pemberton Tyres. And again, Alan does spend quite a lot of time racing these 490 Michaels, because during the closed season in the UK, Alan normally jets off to the USA to ride these bikes in the American Twin Shock Racing Championships. Now currently it's this man here in third position, number 240. I think that was John Idden on his YZ 490 Yamaha. Number 233 there is Graham Smith on his RM 400 Suzuki. But I must say, this has been an absolutely fantastic display from this man here, Dave Salkeld. These are not the greatest conditions to race in, but it doesn't seem to be phasing Dave at all, because he seems to have that big Michael hooked up well on these muddy and slippy track conditions. So a fantastic performance here by number 2 Dave Salkeld. But it's still number 74 Alan Bott, currently in second position on his 490 Michael. There's your third place man, is making his way through, number 33. That's Neil Eastwood. Looks like the third place man there, John Idden, is just taking a little spin there, a little pirouette on his YZ490. But we just simply can't emphasise the performance enough of this man here, number 2 Dave Salkeld. He's absolutely decimating the rest of the chasing pack on his 490 Michael. He's certainly got this Michael tuned big style into this Helsington racetrack. So Dave at this time looking good for his first win of the day as he starts his last and final lap. And Dave's already beginning to pass a few of the back markers on the track, but here's your second place man. There's no taking away from the performance of Alan Bott, because Alan's going very well as well here in second position. So it looks like Alan's heading for another good result here at a very wet, damp and very slippy Helsington racetrack. Looks like we've got a faller into the turn there. Looks like somebody's slid off their 250 Honda Red Rocket, but he appears to be okay. So our race leaders have already crossed at the finish line, so it's a win for Dave Salkeld. Second is number 74 Alan Bott. I think it was John Idden who took the third place position, as we take a look at some of the rest of the pack making their way towards the checkered flag. Number 77 just coming round there is Dave Malaborn on his 250 Michael. So that brings us around to race 5, and this is the very first race for the Twin Shock Open aged 45 and over class. These are basically the young pups of the Twin Shock racing, and I'm sure they won't mind too much of me putting them into that category. So we're just waiting on the starter getting into position, and the 5 or the 10 second board will be up just shortly. Conditions not entirely improving as the morning goes on, but the 5 second board is up. So as the riders leave the line, we'll just try and pick out our race leaders, and it looks like it's number 46. I think that's Jonathan Bethel on that big thumper 4-stroke Husqvarna, who's your early race leader. I think Mark Kenny has also made a good start there in second position on the big Honda. So as the riders make their way down from the top of the track for lap 1, it is indeed number 46, Jonathan Bethel on that big 540cc 4-stroke Husqvarna, who leads this man here, number 121. That's Mark Kenny on the 500cc Honda 2-stroker. Number 55 just going through there was Keith Barnes on that lovely 4-stroke CCM. So we're back at the front of the pack with our race leader, number 46, Jonathan Bethel, one of the sons of the great John Bethel, who was a massive CCM fan and racer back in the day, and I did have the privilege of meeting John many times, but unfortunately John is sadly no longer with us. But it looks like Mark Kenny's passed Jonathan Bethel for that pole position. And it looks like we've got another faller into the turn there. As we take a look at number 3, that's Willie Burgess on the Mago 490 or 500 Micro. But you can see the track conditions very slippy, especially at this bottom part of the track where the riders come down the hill. But we're back with our race leader, number 121. It's Mark Kenny from Scotland on the big CR 500 two-stroke Honda. So Mark is just ahead of number 46, Jonathan Bethel, on the big 4-stroke Husqvarna. So Mark Kenny off to quite a good start in this Twin Shock 45 years and over class race. But it looks like Jonathan Bethel's just been passed there by number treble 7. So that'll be Ewan Johnson there on the Michael, but it looks like Jonathan has got that place back. So Jonathan Bethel going very well here on the big Husqvarna, but he's certainly under pressure from this man here, number treble 7, Ewan Johnson, who is riding a later Michael. I think it's a 1984 bike. As we take a look at number 87, I think that's Darren Brown. It looks like Darren's got some kind of issues with his 79 Michael. We're just taking a look at their number 6, that's Dave Silk on his 250 Honda. Number 50 there is Andrew Barnes on the big Michael. So this man here looking quite comfortable at the front, number 121, Mark Kenny on that CR500 Honda. So Mark's off to a flyer here in this Twin Shock Open aged 45 plus class race. But just for your information, this is of course episode 1 of 3 videos that I'll be posting from this Helsington event, and naturally these are just the racing highlights of each class, and not every single lap or turn of the track is featured, but hopefully what you're looking at here will give you just a little flavour into what went down on the day. So we're looking at our second placed rider now. That's Ewan Johnson, number treble 7. He has managed to pass this man here, number 46, Jonathan Bethel, on the big 4-banger 540cc Husqvarna. There's your 4th placed rider, number 3, that's Willie Burgess. Just going through there is number 55, Keith Barnes. Number 8 there at the back is Robert Smith, and he's again riding one of those German Michael machines. So it's still this man here, number 121, Mark Kenny, your race leader from Scotland, and Mark is without doubt one of our top Twin Shock racers in Scotland. He's been racing these Twin Shockers for quite a few years now, so as you can see he's well experienced, and thankfully flying the flag for the Scots here in first position. So Mark Kenny going well there in first place. This man here is also blasting around the Helsington racetrack, number treble 7, Ewan Johnson. And as I said, this is a 490 Michael, but it's one of the later 1984 motors that's inside that chassis. So in third position, it should still be number 46 there, Jonathan Bethel. And I think Willie Burgess is in 4th, because that rider in front of Willie Burgess there was one of the riders that dropped his machine into the corner. But you can see that this particular part of the track is super slippy, but we're taking a look at number 55. That's Keith Barnes on the big 4-stroke CCM, and these conditions will certainly suit one of those big Alan Clues bikes. But we're back with our race leader again, number 121, Mark Kenny. But Mark only got a few twists and turns to go on his last and final lap of this race to take his first win of the day. So this has been a good performance here by Mark Kenny on the 500 two-stroke Honda. So as Mark comes down the hill for the very last time, being followed by treble 7, the man in second place there, that's Ewan Johnson on the two-stroke Michael. So it looks like Ewan is going to secure that second placed finished, and I think it's going to be that man there, number 3, Willie Burgess, who's going across the line just ahead of number 46, Jonathan Bethel. So we're just taking a look at number 55, Keith Barnes, making his way towards the checkered flag, and that's a lovely CCM bike that Keith built from spare parts that he had lying around his workshop. An absolutely beautiful looking bike when it's of course not covered in mud, but this has been another good performance there by number 55, Keith Barnes. So that brings us around to race 6, and this is the combined Twin Shock Open, aged under 45 years, and also including the pre-1978 in this race 6. So the 10-second board is now up. It looks like we're all good to go, but another fantastic lineup of bikes here at Helsington as the riders make their way into turn 1, and it looks like Brad O'Leary's made a very good start there on the Michael. So it's Brad O'Leary, your first placed rider on the white Bill Brown Michael. So we're just picking up our riders at the top of the hill. It's still Brad O'Leary, your race leader, but he's been challenged by number 711. That's Graham Riley, who's blasting through to take the lead. So it's Graham Riley on the 480 Honda who's your race leader. Jamie Law looks like he's moved up into second position. Now Jamie Law is riding that bike with the Michael chassis and the 500 Honda two-stroke engine inside the frame. But here's the man who has the early lead. It's number 711, Graham Riley. Second is that man there, number 25, Jamie Law, and it's still Brad O'Leary in third position. But you can see that Graham Riley's made an absolutely stonking start just after half a lap here. So he's your race leader. Number 25, it's still Jamie Law in second place. Brad O'Leary on the Wulfsport Mega Michael is currently in third position. We'll just try and pick up a few of the other riders as they make their way round, but quite hard to read their numbers. Whoops! Got another faller there. That looks like that's number 24. I think that's Craig Idden on his Husqvarna who's taking a fall there. But no such problems for this man here on lap 2. That's number 711, Graham Riley on that CR500 Honda rocket ship. Graham's made a fantastic start. It looks like another rider on the deck there as Graham went past. But there's your second placed rider, number 25, Jamie Law, riding the Monda machine. That's, as I've said, the Michael frame with the big CR500 Honda slotted into the chassis, which is quite a common upgrade for these twin shock racers. But there's your race leader, dropped his bike into the corner. So that's number 711, Graham Riley, who was leading this. Whoops! That looks like Brad O'Leary's had a bit of a coming together there. So hopefully he'll be able to get that Wulfsport Mega Michael fired up pretty quickly. It looks like it's running once again, but a slight misdemeanor there by Brad on the Michael. So it looks like Graham Riley and Brad O'Leary have lost a few track positions when they dropped their bikes into this turn. So that makes our brand new race leader, this man here, number 25, Jamie Law. So he has quite a decent gap now between our second place man, who will try and work out who that second place man is if I can manage it. But Jamie Law going very well here in first place. And you see a yellow flag there, so it looks like there's another rider parked at the bottom of this hill. So this is a very tricky turn to negotiate when you come down the hill at speed. Number 46 there, I think that could be Albert Martindale. I think that was the guy that Brad O'Leary had that little collision with in the previous lap. But as you can see, Brad's up and running again and trying to make his way through the pack once more. But earlier on, this race was shaping up to be quite a good scrap between this man here, number 25, Jamie Law, Graham Riley and Brad O'Leary. But of course, with both Brad and Graham dropping their bikes into that turn, then that's completely reshaped at the front of this pack. But nevertheless, this is still a very good performance here by Jamie Law at number 25. Now, if my calculations are remotely correct, then I think it could be this man here in second position, number 46, Albert Martindale on the 500 Michael. So this, of course, was one of the riders that collided with Brad, but Albert never dropped his bike or lost a track position. So this is almost certainly your second placed rider, number 46, Albert Martindale. It looks like Brad O'Leary there on the right hand side has moved up into third position. So Brad's made a fantastic oh dearie me. Once again, the curse of the commentators has struck again. Sorry about that, Brad, but it looks like Brad's had another little misdemeanor with that Wulfsport Michael, but I'll try and make amends for the commentator's curse. So here's your second placed man again, number 46, Albert Martindale. So Albert is on his last and final lap, and I think our race leader Jamie Law has already crossed the finish line. So Albert looking reasonably good at this stage as he got... Oh Jesus, God Almighty! I'm going to have to give up this commentators carry on, because every time you mention the riders doing well, then they have some kind of incident. So, and I do know that the late great Murray Walker did certainly suffer from that same affliction. As we take a look at number, I think that's number 56. That'll be Tony Barnes on another four-stroke CCM as he makes his way across the finish line. But I do hope you've enjoyed this episode 1 here from Helsington 2024, and don't forget there will be more racing highlights coming soon. So thanks again for watching CDB TV.